Kyler Murray
Jesus Christ.
put out a statement. Well, his agent put out a statement, but we could talk about whether or not this was Eric Burkhart's idea or Kyler's idea. But Kyler wants to be direct and loyal with Arizona fans and the great community of the Valley. Number one, he absolutely wants to be your long-term QB. Number two, he desperately wants to win a Super Bowl. Then there's a bunch more words. And then in bold, actions speak louder than words in this volatile business. And then some more words. And then in bold, Kyler remains hopeful that the organization chooses to commit so that he can continue leading the Cardinals to further success and value for many more years to come.
Do you think he mailed in the playoff game because he was worried that they weren't going to pay him?
I don't know, but he definitely looked weird in the playoff game.
Because he had struggled. There's a difference between when he has a bad game and
how does mailing in a playoff game help you if you're worried that they're not going to pay you?
Well,
doesn't playing well make them pay you?
Well, how the fuck does this whatever the hell this thing is? I mean, guy, this is the longest. You can't write that much, man. Hey, listen, I know this guy a little bit. Just text with him every once in a while, but
the agent.
And listen, I don't know who did what. I'm just making an educated guess. This came from Kyler and his dad. This is so stupid. You can't tell me any agent worth their salt who's been in the business goes, yeah, it's a good idea. Let's just throw this out there. Basically saying, pay me or what? Like, that's not how it works. Lamar Jackson didn't do this last year. And hey, Kyler, you can't hold fucking Lamar Jackson's jock in terms of what you've accomplished. Yet through 3 years, Lamar, do you know what he did? Came back? Just played the fourth year. He didn't put out this. What is this? What's the point of this? I don't understand the point of this, guy. Like, you're not. It's 2022. The fans, act like you're some huge fan favorite, like you're Larry Fitzgerald or whatever. I'm a fan. I'm like, hey, Kyler, what the hell happened this year? Like, you think I'm on your side? I mean, I want to be on your side, but I watched you shit the bed the last 6 games, and that playoff game is one of the most embarrassing things I've ever seen. It's one thing to, have a 40-year-old Dan Marino when they lost that game 50-3 to the Jags. Remember that when we were kids? It was one of the biggest playoff blowouts ever. It was 63-7 or something, like Dan Marino's last game. Sometimes playoff games get weird.
Yeah.
Old guy gets hurt. Kyler, you're 23 in the prime of your life, and you got throttled.
Well, and the problem isn't just the result of the playoff game. It's there have been, and I think most people agree from legitimate places, concerns about his ability to be a leader. I've heard it. You've heard it. We've all heard, Steve Young said the thing a couple of years ago.
Doesn't that kind of reflect?
Yes. I mean, all the pieces are there. I think it's fully legitimate. And by the way, this whole thing where the Instagram thing was a real thing.
Yeah, it wasn't the marketing ploy.
and it's just not what most drama-free leaders of organizations do. It's just not. And there's no PR battle to win. That's the other thing. There's no.
Why did he do this? Because the combine's starting this week, and guess what? He's going to meet with them, right? The irony is he's also represents the coach, so it's a little weird. But one thing he wrote in there, I couldn't read it, but I heard someone say this, is that he put out an offer to the Cardinals a week and a half ago and has not heard anything back. So it's kind of like an FU. We want to sign a deal. Can you imagine the offer that he sent them? It wasn't we'll give you, $28 million a year. It's $44 million a year, I'm sure. 140 guaranteed. They're like, are you fucking kidding? You think we're going to sign your guy to $140 million right now? Am I fucking snorting dirt? What are we talking about, Eric? We are not signing your quarterback right now, especially when there's precedent last year on Lamar Jackson, who kind of is your guy's comp.
How about this line, John? Kyler, while under the extremely challenging circumstances of walking into a 3-win team with the last-ranked offense and the toughest division in football, speaks for itself. The Cardinals are the only franchise in the NFL to have proved by 3 or more wins in each of the last 3 seasons. Kyler was tasked with stepping into a tough situation and named the starter on day 1 of his arrival. He has delivered and exceeded all reasonable expectations along the way, winning the NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year. Followed by back-to-back Pro Bowls in the ultra-competitive and QB-loaded NFC.
But you're just listing stats that we all know. What I don't understand is to me, they're trying to get this out in the public. Hey, we're going to try to negotiate this week. That's part of it. I'm going to see you guys. That to me was a calculated move by them, even though this is so stupid. This is moronic.
Schefter wrote, here are the QBs in round 1 to sign a long-term deal before their 4th NFL season in the past decade. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, Jared Goff, who just gone to the Super Bowl, Carson Wentz, Ryan Tannehill.
So 100%, they do not regret a second. There's 2 out of the 6, right?
Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. And
the
they
next
would
one
on-field Deshaun is not it's not an on-field regret.
No, but he's just got issues. Like he missed a season. Like that's like ultimately like, oh, you missed a year. Did you tear your ACL? No, I had masseuses suing me, and I demanded a trade, and I just didn't show up. It was very bizarre. The other 3, those teams regretted it.
Goff, Wentz, Tannehill.
Yeah.
Rams pivoted.
I would put Kyler. You'd have Josh Mahomes in their own tier. Watson kind of in his own world. Like you said, he's closer to Mahomes and Allen from a player, but the off the field is just a red flag now. Kyler's better than the bottom 3, but I would not include him with the top 3.
No.
Would you?
No. Part of getting, part of the deal is like being the total package, right? And somebody on the stream here said, Eric says, things are bad when your statement is the length of a small book. It's just, it's weird, man.
Here's something that he wrote in the second line. It was important to Kyler. So this tells me this is not, to me, agent driven. This is Kyler driven. He's very mad right now. He thinks that I've made the Arizona Cardinals, right? They were shitty when I showed up, and we've been winning because of me. So he's a fucking massive me guy. He's just an egomaniac. I can't stand this kid. But then he wrote, it was important to Kyler that this proposal reflected all of the following. It's hard to even stay on the same lines. It was important to Kyler that this proposal reflected all of the following: provides financial protection, is in line with the current quarterback market that compares with his results alongside relevant comps, lowers his 2022-23 salary cap, doing you guys a favor, to allow the Cardinals to re-sign other deserving teammates and add additional free agents, and most importantly, represents a real commitment from the organization to see their ultimate goals aligns with his number 2 above. Well, Kyler.
Oh, John, and that part's in italics. Sorry.
I can't sign a player to an historic deal, because this would be the biggest deal in the history of the franchise, just based on previous quarterback deals. You've got me to the playoffs one time over the last 2 years when we should have made it both times, and then you were the worst playoff player we've ever seen. Jimmy G struggled or whatever. He was dramatically better against the same team. Dramatically.
And again, internally, not beloved as a leader.
Why did they add the picture of him doing a touchdown dance?
And the logo.
Which,
Well, the statement is from my agent. Oh, but here's my logo at the bottom. I mean, I love the idea of writing this in the third person. Like, who really wrote it, right? Him or his dad, or I don't know. But all of the Kyler. Kyler wants, and 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 Kyler thinks, and he thinks, and he's worth.
Well, here's the other thing, Kyler, where I don't think people are going to feel that bad for you. Hey, guy, you know what's crazy? Kyler makes $740,000 a year. Oh, wait. Kyler signed a fully guaranteed 4-year, $32 million contract. Now, it's not as great as the Bradford days, but no one's crying poor. He was the number 1 overall pick. You could argue Lamar Jackson, God damn, that guy fell to 32, makes nowhere near these guys type coin, just represents the organization incredibly. It's just, how is there been one person that watched Lamar the last couple of years either talk or play be like, I like this guy. Kyler's got this sulky fucking attitude. He wrote a third-person thing that he forced his agent to tweet. This guy's a clown guy.
And hard to read font. Is he going to hold out? That's the other question I have watching this.
Well, doesn't he have a holdout written all over him?
Feels like it.
Yeah, which sign me up for that. I just don't think he feels like he thinks he's got Devontae Adams status with the Packers or something. Fans are going to get.
But Devontae
back.
doesn't act like this.
No, but my point is, someone's usually, or Debo, they're like, you do not mess with our guy. You signed my guy, right? If I was a Cardinal fan, I'd be like, what is going on with this kid?
Well, the Cardinals have been bad, but they are like if you're a Cardinal fan the last 10 years, you've actually had some better football than.
Well, if you've
had good football.
If you're
without
our
Kyler
age,
Murray.
you've seen a lot of good teams.
Yeah.
Right.
You've
And these
had good
guys act
football.
pretty normal, right? It's like, who have you seen? I don't know. Larry Fitzgerald, Honey Badger, Carson Palmer, Kurt
Warner.
Who have you guys seen? Anquan Bolden. Like, we've just seen some pretty high-level guys that acted pretty normal.
Did you say Honey Badger?
Calais Campbell's another guy. I'm pretty sure he won the Walter Payton Award once upon a time. It's like, we know what just high-level, highly paid
We
guys,
interviewed Calais at the Super Bowl. Remember, he was very cool.
just an impressive guy. Like, their team, when they were winning with Arians, was full of just high-level dudes. High-level dudes. Remember how happy Larry was? It was just a high-level operation. It doesn't, like, their operation feels weird now. And it starts with him,
Yeah.
KM. Even though I don't hate his logo, to be honest with you.
Somebody said it's like a knockoff Brady, but really, I mean, everybody's logo is this right now. Just initials.
I think it's not
Because it's a number 1, right? You see the 1 in there?
I even like it more.
Number 1 is the left, the left post of the K.
I got to be honest, I do not hate his logo.
TB12, the TB12 school, Russell Wilson school of logos.
I was going to go, yeah, it's got some rust, more rust than TB12.
Every player logo is clone logo right now.
I do like the 1 is pretty solid in there.
Yeah. Well, you have to have your number has to work into your.
Does Russell's? Oh, yeah, the 3 for the W.
The 3, TB12 obviously goes without saying.
Looks good. Russell's looks good, guy. It does.
Yeah. But here's the thing, like with all your logos, like are you the only one wearing your logo? Every player is they're the only ones wearing their logo.
Tom's expanded.
Tom's has expanded, but for the most part, it's just, I don't see a guy walking down the street in a KM logo shirt. They just Cardinals, Nike.
Kind of just obsessed with yourself type deal.
Well, I mean, look, if I were to start an athlete, like I'd want a logo. I want my logo on my shoes, or it'd be cool. I get it. It's just a way that the merch company makes you feel good.
Michael?
That one worked out. But NFC West is getting weird, John. Now, maybe it's going to settle. Russell stay, McVay will stay, and Kyler, who knows? It could, around the Niners, have gotten, like if McVay left, Russell Wilson left, who knows? But
well, McVay's, to me, it's where they could really benefit.
By the way, they're selling 100 KM shirts total. They're not selling that. No one's buying that.
No chance. Zero. They would be able to sling some Russell Wilsons if that's on the Nike too. To me, Kyler could hold out and Russell Wilson could get traded. Like that, to me, that is. The Niners went 0-4 against those two teams last year. 0-4. So if that happens, that's a huge win for the Niners. Like you want to hold out, which creates chaos, and you want Russell Wilson to, in the next couple of weeks, force a trade to the Eagles or something. Which, again, you might have to play them in the playoffs or whatever, but you do struggle against Seattle. You get Russell out, like I would expect. Anything less than 2-0 is a disappointment. If you tell me Russell Wilson's traded, I don't give a shit who they get back.
Who would even be their quarterback?
If I told you they did a swap with like the Vegas and they had Derek Carr, I'd be like, well,
oh, okay.
But like if it was like the Eagles gave him 3 1s, 2 2s, and Jalen Hurts like 2-0.
No. Yes.
Now Kyler to me would have hold out written all over him, then show up week 1, but be surly. But you could argue he's surly when he's there. So what would really change?
Well, I mean, it's just I think there is ultimately a fraying that comes when your leader is not a great leader. It doesn't necessarily keep you. It's all relative. Whatever your ceiling is, though, it keeps you from sustaining that. So it doesn't mean you can't be a playoff team. It's just what's your ceiling. He can keep you below it. And you're right. To your point, they have struggled. Now, obviously, Colt McCoy beat him this year, so it wasn't just Kyler. But
I do think people underestimate Seattle a little bit in the sense that everyone's like, Seattle's fucked. Well, they went 7-10. They missed Russell Wilson for, I think, 3 games, and they started Geno Smith. They went 3-3 in the division. They swept the 49ers, who were in the NFC Championship game, and they beat the living shit out of the Cardinals week 18, who also was a playoff team. Like I would imagine internally they go, if Russell's healthy and playing gives us 35-5, if you don't think we'll be a factor next year, you haven't been watching us. And I would agree. Now, does that mean I don't think they're a 13-win team, but You can't convince me they can't win 10 games if Russell's healthy and they roll it back.
Yeah.
Because I believe that to my core. Because I've seen it for years. They've had a flawed team for half a decade, and they've been winning 10, 11, 12 games. So you telling me that they can't – do you agree that if he comes back, like they could sweep the Niners again. Like that's tough, right? They could win 10 games.
Absolutely.
But I think everyone will be like, oh, they'll just be average. Well, yeah, I think they'll be slightly better than average as long as they got number 3, R3, on their squad.
No, I think you just did the Steph Curry logo.